Well, that certainly was a Darlington race to we can remember, I guess. Welcome back to the Breaking Bob channel. Hope y'all are doing well. It is time for the post Goodyear 400 recap edition here, where the checker flag just flew at Darlington, South Carolina. Denny Hamlin, back-to-back winner after Martinsville last weekend. It's 11 against the world as he takes the win at Darlington and the Lady in Black today, just like we all predicted. I think with 50 to go, we all thought this was going to be a Denny Hamlin masterclass. We'll get into all the action. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Always talking NASCAR and racing on a daily basis. My thoughts on the Xfinity race from yesterday, where Brandon Jones broke through for his first win in 3 seasons. That is on the channel. Plus thoughts about should we even do Throwback Weekend. There's a lot of drivers with thoughts one way or the other. But when it came down to the on-track action today, the paint schemes were very, very good. And honestly, that was probably the main story because wasn't a lot of on-track action today. It felt like the F1 race from Japan earlier this morning, where that was a snoozer, and today at NASCAR Darlington, it unfortunately was similar on snooze style there. But we'll recap all the action we can here. Like I said, Denny Hamlin going back-to-back. He gets the checkered flag, and tip your pit crews, folks. Make sure you take care of them because they're the ones that put you in position more times than not. I think back to Kyle Larson's 2021 championship in Phoenix. It was because of his pit crew, more or less. And today was just another example of no matter how much you put yourself in position, when that final pit crew option happens, when that final moment for your pit crew happens, that's really what it's all measured on. And today it was Denny Hamlin's pit crew getting him the win after a week where I think it's been a lot of talk about their pit crew succeeding this year. The steps they've taken, of course, their Jackman and his technique, how he twists it around his back while he's going around the car, that was going viral. So I guess it is a little fitting there that Denny Hamlin's pit crew is the one that gets him the win this week. But he only led 2 laps, and that was the overtime restart laps of the race. Kyle Larson was the one that determined this race. 4 laps in, he spun and took out that Texas Terry Kellogg Labonte throwback that was just gorgeous. 4 laps left in the race. He spun once again in just similar style to completely change this race on its head, and it gives Denny Hamlin that win. Race number 56 that he's won in his career now. After, again, last week at Martinsville, he tied Rusty Wallace. Now he moves past Rusty on the all-times win list. Hamlin goes back-to-back for his 2nd win of the season, but Joe Gibbs Racing also their 5th win of the season after Christopher Bell, of course, won 3 in a row to start after the Daytona opener was won by William Byron. Bell went 3 in a row, and now we've got Denny Hamlin back-to-back. So Joe Gibbs Racing, their 4 teams may not be all running as well together as they'd like, but at least the trophies are coming in one way or another, I guess. And Denny Hamlin put himself in position late, running in the top 5 when that caution came out when Larson spun. But that 8.8 second pit stop, sub 8.8, was really, again, the difference in this race. Otherwise, 50 laps ago, we were thinking this was going to be a William Byron masterclass. He led the first 243 laps of the 267 at Darlington, was looking like he was going to be the first driver since Jeff Burton back in New Hampshire in 2000 to have a perfect game, a perfect race where he leads green flag to checkered. But Byron, of course, had to pit in that green flag final cycle. He got short pitted by the rest of the field, came out, I believe, 4th or 5th there, and that was it for him. Wasn't able to climb his way back into the field. Clearly, that clean air for the 24 was the difference all day, and there were moments where he was challenged. I think back to the end of stage 1 where he was boxed in by all the cars on the lead lap trying to stay on the lead lap. Byron struggled there. There was times where Ryan Preece or Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell were close to Byron, but no one really had the speed to compete with that 24 all day. And that's going off of a qualifying lap, he said, even on Saturday, that was 0.2 faster than anyone else in the field. It was head and shoulders the best in the field. So yeah, it was a dominant day for William Byron. He even says it's going to sting when he goes back and thinks about it tonight, but the streak is there. You get 2 stage point wins. Not the streak, but the speed is there. You get 2 stage wins, and you're building off it. Still get a 2nd place finish. He was able to bounce back on that final restart, but still frustrating. And it seems like that's the trend the last 5, 6, 7 Darlington races in this next gen era. The dominant car doesn't win every time. I think every single race in the last 5 or 6 races of the broadcast mentioned the most led laps by a driver. That car didn't win somehow, and chalk it up. Another statistic that keeps going. Larry Mack and those trends are going to be talking about it, I guess, in the fall Southern 500 when that playoff opener comes. You don't want to be the dominant car, I guess, is what I'm trying to say at Darlington. Somehow, William Byron might be not the most frustrated driver at all when it comes to this finish. It's probably Ryan Blaney, who was the fastest car in that final cycle there, was able to get around both Byron and Christopher Bell and hunt down Tyler Reddick in the last 20 laps. Got around Reddick, and as soon as he got around Reddick, right in behind them, Kyle Larson spins. Like I said, that Kellogg's car goes around in mirror image of lap four. 4 laps to go. Ryan Blaney just worked his way to the lead, and in a couple of hundreds of feet, that caution comes out. He goes down pit road, and it just seems like in this next gen era, Ryan Blaney's had more races go against him than for him when it comes to pit road issues, and this is just another sign where Ryan Blaney loses 3 positions on pit road in that final sequence there and was never able to get even close to Denny Hamlin's bumper on that restart. It was just very frustrating, you could tell, for Ryan Blaney. So Blaney and Byron both frustrated when it comes to the finish today, both with very, very good cars. But once again, it's the pit crew, it's the positioning. That's really what NASCAR is nowadays. It's not about being the best car. It's about being in the right position at the right time and having luck go your way, it seems. Let me know your thoughts down below. Denny Hamlin, of course, taking the checkered flag for win number 56 in his career. And it looked like William Byron was going to be the first driver for a little bit to lead from green to checkered for the first time since Jeff Burton back in 2000. Now, think about it. The last time that Jeff Burton did that, Fox didn't even broadcast a NASCAR event. So it has been a long time, even though I believe the stat was it's happened 113 times in NASCAR's history. Not since 2000, so it would have been cool to see, but the one real storyline that we would have gotten from this race we didn't get, naturally. We did have some deja vu from last year, though, as last year in the waning laps, Tyler Reddick pushed Chris Buescher up into the wall, taking him out of contention for the win. And on a restart in the stage 3 part of the race, Reddick pushed Josh Berry into the same way, not the same way, but didn't give him any room, and Berry ended up hitting the wall, crashing out. Fast car once again in that Jim Clark Indy 500 Lotus Throwback. Beautiful looking paint scheme. It's up there with Kyle Larson for best throwback of the weekend there. But, Josh Berry even says in his post-race interview or infield care center interview, the speed's there. We're going to be here. We're going to be at the front of the field each week. And I do think you're seeing that Penske alliance with the Wood Brothers fully come to fruition. You've seen it back with Ryan Blaney, but then a few years of different drivers in there. You just never really saw that car up to its full potential. I think you're finally seeing it with Josh Berry with that Wood Brothers 21. Frustrating, though, with him being taken out of there with Tyler Reddick. A good car for the 21. Once again, it's becoming more of the trend and not just the outlier of going, oh, look at Josh Berry and the Wood Brothers. They're up. That's a great story. It's becoming more of the theme now. It's becoming consistently them running top 10, top 15, even top 5. But the main thing I want to talk about is the consistency or lack thereof, maybe, of cautions that happened today. And I'm not talking about the incidents on track. No, I don't want to see incidents on track, but I'm talking about the way it was officiated today, because what jumps out to me, I think it was lap 138, lap 140-ish. Brad Keselowski had a lug nut come loose on his car after he had pitted in green. It was in the middle of green flag pit stops, and his car spins, loses that lug, no caution. And then NASCAR, a few seconds later, a lap later, throws the caution for debris on the track. And you could just hear every single driver on their radio, oh, debris, okay, sure, NASCAR, debris. Where's the you got a car around, you got Brad around, but we're throwing the debris caution there later. In the middle of green flag pit cycles, with William Byron leading, half the field had already pitted. It ruined a lot of days. It actually really helped Denny Hamlin. He was running 19th at the time. That was really what flipped his track position through the day. So Denny Hamlin, the winner of today, really had his day changed because of that. If that doesn't happen, who knows what the 11 team looks like today. But you think about that, and then you had 2 incidents with Carson Hocevar. One where he tagged the wall and then had a tire cut down. Half a lap later, he ended up spinning. That one, I understand a little bit. He spun out sideways down at the very bottom of the track, way off of the driving line. I get that one a little bit, but then late in the stage 1 racing where William Byron is getting boxed in by all these cars trying to stay on the lead lap, you had Hocevar get turned by Riley Herbst into the wall. Both cars stayed upright, both stayed forward, kept going, and NASCAR still throws the yellow. And I'm wondering, really, was it necessary? I think they were so trigger happy to throw that yellow there just to get some strategy going, just to get the field bunched up again. Maybe I'm just, burned by NASCAR in the decades I've watched it, but just felt like some of the cautions weren't necessary, and then some, like Brad Keselowski's, we could have maybe thrown it for, but I don't know. And then you have Fox saying that John Hunter Nemechek spun in turn 2 on the overtime restart. We didn't have a We didn't have a replay of that. No actual incident of that, but that was just par for the course. As Fox today was just, oh, they were frustrating. They were frustrating. It felt like they were just focused on being a shell of themselves once again and just talking about, oh, throwback history, interviewing drivers. What about the actual race going on? When that caution came out for Brad Keselowski and it flipped the strategy, we're interviewing Richard Petty, Kyle Petty. We've got Greg Biffle coming in the booth. That's all great. Now, I do want to focus on that at times, but let's also focus on the race at hand instead of just making it background noise, just an afterthought. And instead, we have to, as fans, just piece together the race strategy and what's going on, because Fox is just taking it lighthearted, I guess. It just seems like each week they just phone it in further and further. It just seems like, once again, it's almost like it's an inconvenience to them when they're covering the race and they have to actually get into the strategy of it instead of Boyer and Harvick cracking jokes and us just talking about this, that, and the other instead of the actual racing at hand. Maybe I'm just fed up with it, but it just felt like today really was a very, very bad broadcast on Fox's hands. Let me know your thoughts down below. Maybe I'm just preaching to the choir, or is it just easy to pile on Fox? I don't know. But just really felt like a bad day for them. Before we get out of here, let's look at some of the results, though, because when you look at the top 10, 4 of the top 10 are Toyotas, and this race really probably should have ended on a green flag long run cycle there. And when it came to that, the Toyotas were really fast in the short run, and they fell off a cliff after about 35, 40 laps. I think of Chase Briscoe in that first stage. He had a top 5, top 10 car, and then it plummeted, and he struggled to stay on the lead lap. He was never able to get that track position back, but his teammate Ty Gibbs was on a 9th place finish for the 54 team. Now, again, 2nd place last year at Darlington. It's a good track for him. And this is just the weeks they need to start getting in the right direction, the momentum, the confidence back in that 54 team, not just for Ty, but for a brand new crew chief, a brand new team in the overall structure of JGR. This is just building for them. They've started from scratch as far as what they had last year compared to this year. So for Ty Gibbs, a 9th place finish, not something to scoff about, especially when your teammate Denny Hamlin's in victory lane, Christopher Bell 3rd. Chase Briscoe all the way down in 28th just seems like such an outlier compared to the rest of his JGR teammates. And maybe that's just the struggles of being a 4-car team. A lot of people say that 3 cars is the sweet spot for NASCAR. JGR and Hendrick maybe don't have the advantage that people think they do, especially when you see Alex Bowman down in 35th, but Kyle Larson also down there with him. So wasn't a strong day for Hendrick Motorsports outside of William Byron, who again finished 2nd there. Chase Elliott with his throwback scheme not a factor today. Of course, able to finish 8th, but just when you come to a track like Darlington, he just seems like he struggles mightily at this track compared to someone like William Byron, his teammate, who is just head and shoulders above the competition, but struggling for him. Kyle Busch, though, a 10th place finish in that RCR number 8. Really, really good to see him finally get some confidence maybe back in the right direction for that 8 team. They need it moving forward for 2025. Austin Cindric, a good running in 11th. Really strong weekend overall. It seemed like he had speed in top 15. Consistent speed all weekend. Zane Smith also in 12th. Really, really good running for Front Row this weekend. Todd Gillen in 14th. It just seems like Front Row Motorsports maybe not sexy top 10, top 5 runs, but they're really building on something over there. You've got Noah Gragson, of course, running in the top 20 as well. He had 19th today. Front Row Motorsports, we all are, I think, piping up Spire and the investments they've made in this offseason, but don't forget about Front Row, them being a Tier 1 OEM team with Ford. Again, top 20 for all of their cars. That's a big thing. 2 drivers, though, that I've highlighted the last few weeks that have struggled: Carson Hocevar and Brad Keselowski. 32nd for Hocevar, 33rd for Brad. In 2 different reasons they've struggled. Hocevar has had speed, but keeps just coming home with damaged race cars, and early on caught up in incidents that really just put him behind the 8 ball today. And Brad, of course, had that incident where the lug nut came loose, really derailed his day. But it seems like Brad, he had decent practice speed, but even his qualifying, wasn't there what we thought it was going to be, especially compared to his teammates. Chris Buescher was running top 10 early. Ryan Preece qualified 2nd before his day was really slowed down after stage 1, where he really had a good day. Of course, Preece wasn't able to battle back after a good stage 1, like I said, but Keselowski it seems like is the odd man out right out at RFK. And I know that we're not really necessarily wanting to push the panic button yet. All it takes is 1 win and you're in the playoffs. But Brad, for a race that he won at last year, I expected to see at least some speed this weekend, and I didn't see that from the 6th team. But that's a guy that you maybe should be a little bit concerned about. And then somebody that I think we've completely just given as an afterthought now, including Fox, who said that 2311 is a 2-car team. No, they bought a charter last year from SHR. Riley Herbst is a 2311 driver. He's in 34th. Now, again, I don't know if it's fair to necessarily call him out because this is his first year. But when you've got teammates that are running in top 10 positions consistently, I know Bubba Wallace finished outside the top 20. I think it was 23rd, 20th. But Tyler Reddick competing for the win, and then Riley Herbst so far off the pace. It's got to be a little bit concerning for 2311 there, especially when you got Corey Heim in the wings of the development driver. How long are they going to let this go on? I'm not saying they're going to pull him at all this year, but maybe in the offseason they do have to look at it. But overall, today at Darlington, I thought it was a straightforward race. Throwback weekend, maybe it was a throwback style race there where it seems like one driver just kicked everyone's butt, but in not true throwback style, in current NASCAR fashion, that driver didn't win because of some tomfoolery toward the end of the race there. But let me know your thoughts down below overall about throwback weekend. Of course, you had Brandon Jones winning the Xfinity Series yesterday, but Denny Hamlin going back to back. No crazy celebration today, at least not that we saw on Fox's short coverage for post race. They had to jump right to USFL football. Well, of course they did. Just par for the course, but we'll be here for all the post-race coverage as always. Make sure if you like what you saw, like this video, subscribe to Breaking Mob for more NASCAR content, always on a daily basis. We've got Bristol next weekend, the last great Coliseum. We got all three series in action. We'll have plenty to talk about. Stay tuned for more on this channel for more NASCAR coverage. I'll see you soon.